You tap your card. The coffee is paid for. You didn't think about it. You never do. But somewhere, a signal traveled across continents in under a second. A bank checked your balance. Another bank confirmed it. And you walked away with a coffee, having touched nothing but plastic and glass. Now imagine that system just stopped. Not broken, not hacked, just gone. For 7 days, the entire world agrees to use only cash. No cards, no apps, no taps, just paper and coins, changing hands the way they have for thousands of years. It sounds like a game, a thought experiment for a slow afternoon. But the real answer is far stranger than a game. Because the moment digital money disappears, you find out how much of modern life was never really about money at all. It was about trust, moving invisibly at the speed of light. Start with the first morning. You wake up. Your phone still works. Your bank app still opens. But it's useless. Every balance on that screen is just a number now, a story with nothing behind it. If you want breakfast, you need paper. So you go to the ATM, and so does everyone else. This is the first crack. Economist Kenneth Rogoff has spent years studying what happens when cash becomes scarce, and his research points to something uncomfortable. Physical currency was never meant to move at modern speed. ATMs are stocked for a world where most people don't need them urgently. They are not stocked for a world where everyone needs them at once. Lines form before sunrise. Machines run dry by noon. And the second crack appears almost immediately behind the first. Not everyone has cash sitting nearby. Not anymore. For over a decade, central banks have tracked a quiet shift. The U.S. Federal Reserve's own Diary of Consumer Payment Choice has shown cash use falling year after year, replaced by cards and apps that never needed a wallet at all. Sweden went further and faster than almost anywhere else. Researcher Nicholas Arvidsson, who has studied the country's rapid move toward cashless life, has described a nation where some shops legally refuse paper money altogether. So on day one of the experiment, Sweden doesn't inconvenience its citizens. It stuns them. Cash becomes a foreign object. People hold bills they haven't touched in years, unsure if they're even still valid. Shopkeepers dig out old machines just to make change. An entire generation of teenagers who grew up paying with a phone holds paper money for the first time in their lives. Why does this feel so disorienting? Because money was never just about the transaction. It's about identity, memory, habit. Your brain doesn't store currency as an abstract concept. It stores patterns. Tap, walk away. Tap, walk away. Remove the tap, and the pattern breaks, and your brain has to relearn something it thought it already knew. Now push further into the week. Day 3. The panic has settled, but a new problem emerges. Payroll. Businesses that pay employees digitally now face an old-world puzzle. How do you get physical money into hundreds, sometimes thousands of hands? Payroll departments that haven't printed a check in years scramble to find printers, ink, secure envelopes, armored transport. Some companies simply can't do it fast enough. Wages get delayed, not because the money doesn't exist, because the machinery to move it physically was dismantled long ago, piece by piece, in favor of something faster and invisible. This is where the experiment reveals its real subject. It was never about whether cash is good or bad. It's about how much invisible infrastructure keeps modern life running. Infrastructure so smooth you forget it's there until it's gone. Meanwhile, something unexpected happens in the underground economy. Cash has always been the currency of things people don't want tracked. Street vendors, informal labor, small transactions between neighbors that never touch a bank. For once, these systems don't struggle. They were built for exactly this world. Anthropologists studying informal economies, including work associated with researcher Keith Hart, who first coined the modern term informal economy while studying urban Ghana in the 1970s, have long noted something counterintuitive. The less formal a market is, the more resilient it often becomes to shocks in the formal financial system. Street vendors don't need a card reader to survive a blackout. They never depended on one. So for 7 strange days, informal economies quietly outperform formal ones. Is that a coincidence? Not really. It's a mirror. It shows which systems were built for stability and which were built purely for convenience. By day 5, governments start intervening. Emergency cash printing increases. Armored trucks run around the clock. Central banks release reserves they normally keep untouched, because national reserves were never designed to flood an entire cashless population at once. And here's the twist most people don't expect. The countries that struggle the most are not poor ones. They're the wealthiest, most digitally advanced nations on Earth. The very places that led the charge toward tap-to-pay, contactless everything, and app-based banking are the same places where physical cash infrastructure has quietly eroded the most. Meanwhile, nations with less digital infrastructure, places where cash never fully left daily life, barely notice the week has changed anything at all. Progress, it turns out, can be a kind of fragility in disguise. By day 7, something else becomes visible. Trust. Every transaction, digital or physical, has always been an act of trust. When you tap a card, you're trusting a network of banks you'll never meet to honor a number on a screen. When you hand someone a paper bill, you're trusting that the next person will accept it too, purely because everyone has silently agreed it has value. Cash forces that trust into your hand, literally. Digital money hides it inside a system so seamless, you forget trust was ever required at all. Historian and journalist David Wolman, who spent years researching the psychology and history of currency, has argued that money has always been less about the object itself and more about shared belief. Coins, paper, and now data are just different containers for the same ancient agreement between strangers. The cash-only week doesn't break that agreement. It just makes it visible again. By the final hours of day 7, something quietly shifts. People aren't panicking anymore. They're adapting, counting coins by hand, making change with a calculator instead of a screen. Slower, clunkier, but strangely, more tangible. Then the weekends. Cards start working again. Apps reconnect, and almost instantly, the world snaps back to its old rhythm, as if the last 7 days had never happened.